Hello, blockchain developers. We all have been using Remix IDE all this time to write our smart contracts in Solidity. What is the next step that you can do to improve your Solidity programming? The next thing that I would recommend is that stop using Remix and start using this another framework called Truffle. Remix is really good when you have to just get started because it does requires no installation. Just visit this website and start writing your Solidity code. But as a professional Solidity programmer, one thing that you would often need is that you would need the ability to, first of all, organize your code in folders. So you may want a structure like this. So you might want your contracts folder to have several subfolders like this, and each subfolder might have its own neat organization of all the smart contracts. So that is one thing which Remix, in a way, it lacks. I'm not able to see how to create new folders and organize my stuff. The second reason why I would recommend moving to Truffle is that all these files they sit in the local storage of your browser, which means that if I have to send all these files to my friend who is like sitting just next to me on the next desk, I do not know where to go and open these files. I mean, I can just hack around and refer to their documentation and try to get my files from the internal folders of my Chrome browser, but definitely not intuitive. I mean, I am rather habitual that I want to, let's suppose, create a folder structure like this. So maybe I would want all my code to reside in a particular folder like this, and I would want to put all this code in Git, and maybe I would want to use my favorite IDE. I do not want to use the IDE of the web-based Remix. I am rather happy using my IDE, such as this Visual Studio Code that I'm using right now. Or you might have your favorite IDE, whichever that you are liking. So you might be a very regular programmer on Atom, or you use Sublime, whatever you use. You can Truffle loves your IDE, and you can start to write Solidity programming code in your favorite IDE. So that's one more reason. Another reason to start using Truffle Framework, and we can jump on the features page of Truffle to learn why to use Truffle, is that you can automatically test the Solidity work that you wrote. So I would take an example. Here is some code that might probably interest you. So what I'm now going to do is that I'm going to open. I'm going to show you that how I. Give me a second. I'm going to show you that how I wrote a small piece of code which is a to-do list application, and I would quickly go in and try to run a piece of test on the code that I wrote. So the only thing that I will have to do is that I will have to press Truffle test, which means if there is some code, let's suppose, which was here that I wrote, Solidity code, I can write a test script which is here. And using Truffle test, I can quickly test whether each piece of thing that I wrote in this contract, I will write the test cases here, and I'm going to test the stuff which I wrote in this Solidity code. So Truffle test, if I do that, it will go and deploy all my code in this local blockchain which is running right now on my machine, like it just deployed, you saw, and it will perform the first test, the second test. It will ensure that all the tests are passing. So that's another feature of Truffle. And this is another very powerful feature of Truffle, which means that you can script, you can tell that how your deployments should go into the blockchain. I would show you with a recent example I did for one of my clients. So I had this very important requirement that I should be able to tell that these are the two smart contracts I wanted to deploy on blockchain, and I specifically wanted this contract, yes, I wanted this contract to be deployed first, and I wanted this contract to be deployed second. So I am able to specify which contract should be deployed first and next through this script. So I'm able to script how the deployment should happen. So here I told the first contract that should be deployed, then I told the second smart contract that should be deployed, and guess what? I'm able to tell the address of this contract as a parameter here. So I wanted to pass the address of my first smart contract when I deploy my second smart contract. So all that is actually possible, and you would often need this situation when you are into production programming. One another thing which scriptable deployment promises is that you would often come across situations when you want to deploy your smart contract with a specific account. So in Remix, I can always go and choose which account I want to use to deploy my smart contract. Yes, you can do that. But as you see, I will have to choose the appropriate account from my MetaMask, and then I have to choose the appropriate account here. Not as convenient as it could be. So what rather I can actually do when I'm using Truffle is that I can just write in a piece of code that where is my private key, what is my mnemonic, like as you see here. Give me just a second while I show you how you can specify the locations of your stuff. Right, so like here, I am able to specify that where my private keys exist. I'm able to write that in a piece of Truffle config file, and when I do Truffle deploy or Truffle migrate, when I try to deploy that on the blockchain, the private keys and the mnemonic which I really wanted to only use for the deployment process, I'm able to in a way hardwire which accounts to be used. So I do not need to go with the trouble of selecting my accounts through the drop downs or through your MetaMask. And also I do not I can write code which if I transfer to my friend who is sitting next to me, he will be able to see that what other accounts that must be used to deploy the smart contracts. And you would often come across this situation when you want to just use a specific account to deploy your smart contract. I would give you an example. So one of my clients makes use of this hardware wallet. And hardware wallets come with their accounts, and he wants only the particular account on this hardware wallet to be the owner of the smart contract that he deploys. So it is a necessity for him to not just deploy with any account out there. He wants to deploy the smart contracts only and only using a particular account which sits inside his hardware wallet. And he keeps the private key of that hardware wallet, he keeps the private key of the account inside the hardware wallet close to his chest. So if he needs, often there's a need to deploy only using a given account. That is what Truffle lets you do. And a few more random useful features. You will get to like Truffle for your production Solidity programming pretty soon. So we will show in our video course how to make use of Truffle framework in a while. And again, you are free to make use of Remix for your experimentation and hello world exercises. And as soon as you have to delve into something production like these guys are doing, you will have to start using Truffle to manage your stuff. Pretty much everyone in the Solidity programming community, they make use of Truffle to get the things going. And there are a few alternatives of Truffle as well, like Embark. And more on that later. Thank you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session where we talk about some more fun details of Solidity programming. See ya.